Welcome to the YouTube channel of Steve Kovic, Marriage Coach, where I present and illustrate the principles that happily married couples apply in their daily lives. These concepts are based on the work of psychologist Dr. John Gottman, who conducted research with more than 3,000 couples in 30 years. He details the results of his research in his New York Times best-selling book, 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. A word about me. I'm a board certified by the National Board of Certified Counselors and a licensed professional counselor in the state of Illinois. I'm also a certified presenter by the Gottman Institute in Seattle. My greatest fame, however, is being the husband of Susie Kovic and the father of Lizzie and Peter Kovic. If you're looking for what actually works in marriage, instead of abstract theory based on somebody's personal opinion, you've come to the right place. Today I'm discussing the question, are you and your spouse masters or disasters of marriage? In the research Dr. Gottman conducted, he discovered that there were 2 general categories where he would classify married couples: the disasters of marriage or the masters of marriage. Looking at those 2, he noted that the masters of marriage are gentle in their interaction with one another, whereas the disasters are very critical. The masters are interactive, asking a lot of questions, wanting to know more about their spouse, whereas the disasters were more defensive rather than interactive. The masters were excited about one another, whereas the disasters exhibited a lot of tension in their interaction. The masters were affectionate, while the disasters seemed to be more hostile. The masters were humorous, had a lot of fun, great attitude, whereas the disasters showed hurt feelings and were worried more about protecting their feelings than they were with interacting with their spouse. And finally, the masters were responsible for their actions even when they failed, whereas the disasters were focusing on diagnosing their partner's negative defects, rather than having a good conversation. Gottman, as part of Gottman's research, he asked the couples to discuss and attempt to solve their biggest problem in 15 minutes. He noticed that the masters were 5 times more positive than negative in their interaction with their partner. The disasters made 0.8, less than 1 positive comments, or acted positively 0.8, which is less than 1 time, for every time they were negative in their relationship. In other words, they were basically negative, whereas the masters were 5 times more positive than they were negative. During normal interaction, Gottman also discovered that the masters were 20 times more positive than negative in their interaction with their partner when there was no controversy. The disasters stayed where they were initially. They made 0.8 or less than 1 positive comments, or acted positively 0.8 or less than 1 time for every negative interaction during their conversation. In other words, the masters remained basically negative whether they were in a tense situation or whether they were just living out their normal life. So based on this information, my question for you is, are you a master or a disaster of relationships? Feel free to go to my website, www.stevekovic.com, stevekovic4@gmail.com. Again, that's www.stevekovic4@gmail.com. Feel free to provide any feedback for my presentation, and thank you until we meet again.